One of the mistakes that a lot of data modelers make is they try to generalize their model so they can support future requirements. Most of the time, these future requirements that these people think of are just in their head. They may never happen. So they end up creating a model that is overly complex and, in my opinion, useless. In one of the companies that I worked at before, we had one of these people. He tried to model the entire universe. He forgot about the scope of our project. He forgot about the context. He forgot about the requirements. So he gave us a data model that was spread over 20 pages or more. And quite honestly, nobody really understood this data model except himself. Everything was super generalized, and his argument was that this model could handle all future requirements without any changes. He also designed another database for us that took abstraction and generalization to the next level. So we had 3 tables called entities, attributes, and values. And again, his argument was that this model was so flexible, so general that we wouldn't need to change it in the future. Because with these 3 tables, we could model any concepts. Because everything is an entity. So we could store it in the entities table. And everything has attributes. So we could store its attributes and values in the attributes and values tables. Now, the actual model had a few more tables like relationships, relationship types, and so on. So he essentially built a relational database on top of a relational database. This design is referred to as the 6th normal form. And while it may promise some benefits on the paper, in reality, it creates a big mess that nobody can clean up. That is the reason I told you that we had stored procedures that were 1,000 lines long. Because if I wanted to select a student record, I couldn't just write a query like this. There was no such a thing as the students table. One record in the entities table represented our students table. So I had to join this with entity instances table to get a specific student. But then I had to join that with the attributes and values tables and then do a group by. God, it was so painful. The simplest query was 10 lines long, and it was super slow. Some queries took a minute to execute, sometimes even longer. So here's what I want you to take away. Develop the best solution for today's problems, not future problems that may never happen. In the real world, people may change their legal name. Don't add a previous name column in your customers table unless it's really important to your problem domain. People move houses. Don't worry about supporting multiple addresses if all you need to know is the customer's current address. So don't build a model for the universe or the real life. Build a model for your problem domain based on the current requirements, not what happens in the real life. Don't make these kind of assumptions like, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if none of this happens? You will end up with a design that has a lot of baggage that you have to carry for a long time. And this will prevent you from going faster. It will make it harder to add new features to your applications. That's why I told you that you're going to end up in a big mess that nobody is going to be able to clean up. So as I always say, keep it simple. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Don't be proud for designing a complex model. That is not something to be proud of. You can be proud only if you take a complex model and simplify it and simplify it and simplify it like no one else. And then you have a beautiful model that supports today's requirements in an optimal fashion. Your code will be beautiful, it won't be complex, your queries will execute quickly, everybody will understand your design, and you can easily extend your model to support future requirements. Don't be afraid of changes. Changes will happen whether you predict them or not. And trust me, no matter how much experience you have, you're never going to be able to predict all future requirements because they depend on the business, what the CEO thinks, not what programmers think. So once again, don't try to predict all future changes. Whenever there is a change in the future, you can always write a script to change your database model and migrate the data if necessary. And trust me, you will do that no matter what. Even if you predict all the future requirements, there is still one day that your prediction will fail.